Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I am joined by Chris Bratt.
Good morning.
Stephen Burns.
Hello.
And David Scammell.
I thought you were going with Brian Blessed there for a minute.
David Scammell.
Brian Blessed. I can't even do Brian Blessed. I don't know why I'm trying.
I was going a bit more Attenborough, really. And here we have a David Scammell in the wild.
Wonderful.
Eating donuts.
What a beast.
Roaming around the jammy savannah looking for another slice of cake. Anyway, games, video games. This is a video games podcast, and I'm going to kick it off actually this time with a bit of a game that I've been playing for breakfast, Payday 2.
I think we've all tried a little bit of Payday 2, right? Steve.
I've been away,
you
so I
had a chance,
haven't.
but me and Dave.
You almost said that as Playdate 2,
Yeah.
which is like a game where you drop your kid off around someone else's house or something, and then shoot cops.
Yeah.
Deadliest catch. Brilliant. Yeah.
Oh dear.
We've been playing a lot. I've been playing a lot. I was playing the
You've been
Xbox
playing loads,
version
right?
over the weekend.
Yeah.
PC version is so much better.
Yeah,
Not that the Xbox port is a terrible port, because it's not, but like the PC build.
We've kind of hit that point, I think it was about 3 months ago, where it's just universally accepted now that all Xbox games look like dick.
Yeah.
Because there was a point before that where it was like, oh my God, PC games look amazing. But now it's like, we've kind of got so used to what PC games look like now that you just look at that and go,
Yeah. And we've been given the taste of next gen. It's kind of it's soured.
Far Cry 3 was
360
the moment
games.
for me where it's just like, wow, this looks nice. And then realizing that it doesn't even look that nice. The engine for Far Cry 3 isn't that good. It just shows you what you can do when you've got a CPU that can draw trees properly.
Yeah.
But anyway, Payday 2, it's really good.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting actually because it's really good in some regards and terrible in others. But I think we're getting to a point where that doesn't matter. In the fact that I started playing it because I was having a weird bug on my PC where it would crash every time I entered an online game. I was just playing it, which is a major problem for this game actually, but one that doesn't seem to be widespread because nobody else has this problem. I think it's a graphics card thing. Anyway, it was rubbish single player with the bots.
It's awful. They might as well not have the bots.
Really terrible.
They are literally just extra guns. And it gets really frustrating when you're trying to do the objectives and they're not there carrying the bags.
They
And
don't. One of the hardest things when you usually most of the heists I've done so far, you open the safe, which takes a long time. You have to wait for the drill, and a ton of police arrive, and you kind of fight and hold them off. And then the safe opens, and you go to pick up the bag to take down, and you need to take 3 to complete the mission. And the other 2 guys, if you're playing with bots, don't pick it up, so you have to fight your way out and then try and get back in, which is impossible.
There's one where you have to raid an art gallery, basically. You have to steal 4 pictures from this art gallery. And it's like, you could do that with 3 other people quite easily, in and out.
Right,
and you
let's
could
all
probably do
grab
it quite
something.
stealthily. Try and do it offline. Not a chance.
That's the thing, because the level I played was one of the earlier ones, which was called 4 stores, which is literally like there are 4 shops, and you just have to rob them, basically. And when I was trying to do it on my own, it was just a case of me bumbling around.
You'd have to keep crossing the street.
I was,
on that one.
I kept having to cross the street to rearm the drills because the drills kept breaking. So it was literally like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm just going to run over there, start the drill up again. And it took me like 20 minutes and I ended up killing about 100 policemen. Yeah. And it felt like I didn't like the tone of the game because it didn't feel like I was just killing cops because they were in my way. It felt like I was playing a game which was basically just sit here and kill loads of cops while a drill finishes.
To be honest.
And I killed like 300 cops. It was like, really?
To be honest, I've played about 4 hours now, and I've got to admit, I have yet to play a heist where that hasn't eventually just happened.
Yeah, but it's less happens. I mean, I played one this morning with 3 other randoms online. One of the biggest problems I had was the fact that everyone kept kicking me out lobbies because I had a fresh account.
Yeah, low-level stuff. I got that last night. It's like, I've been playing this for like 20 hours on Xbox. Yeah, I've been kicked out of a game because I'm level 2.
Yeah.
I know what to do. It's just...
That's it. It's like I go into a game and everyone's like, you've been kicked. It's like, oh, just because they were level 30. And I'm like, guys. But it was quite embarrassing because I eventually got into a game and because I kept being too slow to type and say, wait, I have played this a bit. I just haven't got a level anymore because it was a press account. And some guy was like, oh, it's fine. We're not dicks. Yeah, you can stay. I was like, oh, phew, wicked. And then the first thing I did when I got into it was they all ran off into different shops. So I went into the last shop and I realised that they were all like, there were exclamation marks popping up all over the place, which meant that they were doing stuff. They put their masks on and they were getting stuff done. And I was still there in this shop going, I hadn't put my mask on yet. And then I put my mask on, proceeded to run into the back office and pistol whip a woman in the back of the head and murdered her.
Oh god!
And it was like
professional work.
Yeah.
I was like, but I loved it because everyone was like, we're not taking that guy, he's a rookie. And then these one guys are like, oh yeah, he's a rookie, but it'll probably be all right. I run off on my own. The first thing I do is murder an innocent civilian by accident. I felt really bad, but I was like, I looked around and I was like, I don't think any of them noticed. I don't think so. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think I see what you mean, and most people I've spoken to have agreed that eventually, once you unlock enough skills and you have like a role to play, it becomes a really fun heist game. But the progression does seem a little bit slow.
Takes a long time.
I don't know.
It punishes early players. The fact that you can't do anything but.
To be honest, I
fend off
jumped
police.
into, because the thing is, I jumped into one game and I played it with high level people. I think the problem comes if you're playing with, and this ties back into the idea that it is really an online game, and the fact that the offline stuff just shouldn't exist really because it's meant to be played online. But if you jump into a hard mission with a few people, even a couple of people who have skills, which is what I did, it meant that we completed this mission in like 4 minutes because literally they were in, we had the money, we had the 15 grand in like no time at all because they just went, they knew where to go, they raided the tills, they started drilling the safes, and I get the impression they had silenced pistols, so they ran in, took out the guards, got over on the floor, they tied all their wrists up, and basically it meant that we didn't have the police as a problem. The police did come.
I wish I could do that.
We did have the police come, and it was a big shootout at the end, but that was because we got greedy, and it got to the point where we were trying to crack more safes, and then we all left. And what I loved about it was the fact that even though it was an online game, that we didn't need much communication, because it was like your roles are quite simple. And it was this case of the only time we talked was when one guy, towards the end, after we cracked one of the last safes, we had one safe to go, he just said, we're leaving. And that was the point at which like the super SWAT guys from the police were coming in riot shields, and it was like, yeah. And then we all left. And it was the fact that you have this kind of silent communication where you all know what your role is and you just get on with it. And it'd be great fun with headsets doing it properly.
yeah.
But it's nice that you can just jump into a game. And because it was so hard, I went up 5 levels from that one thing. So I assume that it's like really, it's annoying you can't do anything at first, but now I assume if you play hard missions, you will level up more quickly.
Yeah, you get more XP when you do harder missions. But the thing that frustrates me about the whole the stealth stuff is that so the silenced pistols or the silencer for the pistol was included in the pre-order version.
Oh, really?
And the press copies, right? But not on console. So I was playing it on console originally, and essentially the unlocks for your weapons, the attachments, are all luck based. You have to select a card at the end once you've finished a mission. Yeah, so if you're unlucky and you don't unlock a silencer, you could be running you could have that for
I
hours.
thought you could buy stuff. Can you not? I haven't looked in the shop yet.
No, you can buy it once you've unlocked it.
Exactly. You have to
That's
be
fucking-
rewarded with this thing, which is a lucky dip essentially. You don't know what you're going to get, and then you have to buy it on top.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. Because the silencer is such a key part of being part of that team. If you want to go and do a stealthy run, if you haven't unlocked a silencer, what do you do?
Having said that, to be honest, this is more what I want is the ability to tell people to get on the floor when they're guards. Because actually, then I don't even need a silencer.
Yeah.
But you can level up and get that, which is one of the things you can't do at first. You can tell civilians to get on the floor, but you can't tell guards. And I didn't know that the first time I played it. I just stood next to this guy going, get on the floor, get on the floor, get on the floor. And he just calmly walked up to me and handcuffed me. And I was like,
It's all been a big misunderstanding, officer.
I was like, I may have made a mistake. But first, that's my main problem with the game so far is I don't like the... I mean, it's a really tough one, right? Because I know that you're playing guys who are supposed to be like, these are bad men, right? But at the same time, I kind of don't feel comfortable with the ceaseless violence towards the police because I don't know, it's not a thing. A thing is, it's this thing where it makes me sound like a prude or something, being like, oh, I don't think it's wrong that you're shooting all the policemen. But really, for me, it's a thematic thing in the fact that
I don't think it's even a moral kind of standpoint. It's the fact that in the best heist films, they don't just murder 100 police guys whilst the safe's being
precisely. It feels like
they have hostages.
Yeah.
They force the police to wait outside, and they kind of plan something.
And it feels like that is a conscious decision. Like you don't want to kill cops because if you kill cops, it's bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, in heist movies, especially in my first job as a career criminal, was to go and kill a woman, forget to pick up any money, and then help with a shootout, which resulted in the massacre of about 200 policemen. And it's like, I'm going to have to lay low for a really long time after that.
I mean, you are, and there's going to be some serious
if you go back and say, hey, Mr. Russian, here's the 100 grand we stole for you, it's like, that's great, but you killed half the police force.
They're not happy about
it.
it.
You now have to lay low for 6 years.
It does feel a bit no Russian.
But isn't it that they're always giving it the big, and people will compare it to like Heat, for example. But everyone remembers the shootout in Heat, but no one really will remember the reason why that happens. The only reason why that happens is because the police get tipped off, and it's as the criminals are leaving that I think it's Tom Sizemore's character. You see the gun poking out from the bottom of his suit, and they want to just leave, and the driver's there, and I think was it Robert De Niro is being very professional. He says, all of your money's insured. Nothing will happen to your money. Just stay on the floor. Don't be a hero. You won't die. And they do it really well. And then as they leave, the police just for a stroke of luck essentially turn up. And then the big, it's not like they just went in there, fucking killed everyone. I went, yeah. So I prefer it if you could do more of that. I haven't played Payday 2.
I mean, I don't know. I think the problem is it's a weird one in the fact that we're used to in games, and for good reason, of having the choice of being like, do you want to go in and guns blazing, shooting in the air and getting people to lie on the floor? Or do you want to go in and threaten people with weapons but not use them and get out without police trouble? And I think the problem is that it gives you that as a reward rather than an option.
Yeah.
So it's like after you've played it for a couple of hours, you can do that. But to be honest, I don't know. I mean, in a way, I kind of like that idea of being like when you actually manage to do it, because I know that it is possible to go in with some people, get everyone on the floor, tag up their wrists, and then even if the police do arrive, I think that the police will then stay outside, because as long as you have hostages in the building, it means they won't approach. They do actually hold their position, and you can just use like suppressing fire to keep them away.
Yeah, they'll send. I think they send little crews in to try and rescue hostages.
And then once hostages are gone, they'll come in.
Yeah, but hostages are also used if you get sent into custody, if you get caught, and you've got hostages still spare, you can release a hostage, and then that essentially forms an extra life for you. You're then respawned, essentially. So that's how it works. So on the harder missions, harder levels, you really want to start taking hostages, and there's an ability you can unlock like 10 extra ties.
Yeah, you only have 2 at the beginning.
And I would recommend doing that.
I really want to get that one, because I like the idea of just being, especially because it's like you can't keep an eye on the guys. That's what I love about it, and it's a shame that at first, that's what I mean, is there's clearly a lot to this game, and I'm really looking forward to playing some with my friends, but it's a shame that my first experience with it is just like, this is just a cop killer simulator, but then you start to realise the cable ties, but you've only got 2. I love the idea of being able to go in and be like, everyone on the floor, tie them all up, and then knowing that you don't have to worry about those guys because they're all tied up, and then you just go and start cracking a safe.
Yeah.
I just wish after 3 hours I'd seen a little bit of that, because I haven't yet. But we're going to try and play together at some point and maybe do a video.
I wish it was
a
little less punishing. A little less punishing. I wish there was more tactics involved, and
for the newer players as well as the veterans.
Yeah, like you could go through certain rooms and tie them out. That's that room secure. That sort of idea. Whereas at the moment, it's like once you're in the bank, everyone's going to know you're in the bank. Like that's I don't know, something about it I'm not too sure of.
And it's difficult. I think you get the fun of it. Almost feels like first person maybe isn't the right choice for it, because it's a first person, which means that you can have the shooting. But I kind of feel like, I imagine if it was an online one, maybe with a kind of camera style of Hotline Miami, where you could have a top down
like Monaco?
thing. Like Monaco, actually, yeah. So I mean, that is a heist game actually. So of course, but maybe if it was still like violent and nasty like that, but with the kind of top-down thing, so you can have the hostages and stuff and see what's going on and get a feel for what you guys are doing.
The best example of that, I think, is, and I know a lot of people hate the games, but the multiplayer mode is very good indeed. Kane Lynch's Fragile Alliance mode, where it has a third-person game, and the mode is you have to go and rob
banks. Is that the one where you can screw each other over at the end?
Yeah. So
I thought you'd be able to do that in Payday.
But it's really tense, because once you're getting towards the extraction vehicle,
you start looking at each other.
Yeah, and everyone's getting into this weird standoff where it's like, and it's not like it's not. It could have been built out into something far better. But I think the third person, as you were saying, view really helps that, because you need to see everything around you. And weirdly, this is something I was talking about in my review of Dishonored's DLC, where it's like there are a lot of problems with like stealth games, but they're mitigated by the fact you can see around you. Whereas in Dishonored, you've got like a field of vision, especially on consoles. It's like 3. And so, in games where you need to be acutely aware of your surroundings, third person generally works a lot.
Having said that, actually, it may just be the case that I find the UI quite confusing in Payday 2, but I think that might be intentional. And I think that maybe it's supposed to be just because it seems like when somebody else has been spotted like a little way away, you just see this flurry of exclamation marks because they've just pulled out a gun or something in a
panic or
restaurant.
something.
And just that idea of you don't specifically know what's going on, but you get a sense. You're like, okay, shit's going down over there. I just heard some yelps or something,
And maybe you're not supposed to see everything because you need to work together as that team and all be looking like one guy looking outside, one guy watching the hostages, that kind of idea.
I do like the mad panic of it, though. I'm looking forward to an idea where I play it with friends and you have that mission where you do it all properly.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I kind of like the kind of mad flurry of just looking around, being like, where are the cops? I'm like, oh, that guy could do with the hand. I'll go and help him. I'll watch him. And, that guy's got to get down. And the idea of it being this twitchy kind of like worried sort
I
of
wish the cops could behave a little bit more realistically. Like if they're going to breach a building, then they would actually act like they were breaching a building rather than just making a beeline for where the player is. So I've never seen them try to cover each other and clear stuff. They've always just made a straight beeline for me, essentially.
I was playing the nightclub and they come through the roof and stuff.
That is scripted though. That happens every time at the end of the mission. I know what you mean. The cops find the corners, I've realised, really confusing. Like doorways. They like build themselves up to a doorway for a good minute and a half. And then they're like, right, let's do it. Run around and get shot.
Yeah.
But
bloody police, eh?
Come on.
Fuck the police,
no.
as I always say.
Help them.
That's my catchphrase.
Help the police.
Help the police. Yeah, that's out of Buxton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely. So any other games people have been playing in the roulette of games this week?
Been playing Europa Universalis 4, which is awesome. More and more often when on these podcasts I say I've been playing insert game.
This is I know, and I will always defend you because I think these games are interesting. However, this is one of those circumstances.
You either get or you
this is one of those circumstances where it's like a mob movie where like you're some guy's done some bad stuff, but I'll be like, I'll talk to Don Corleo, I'll fix this. But this is
you screw me over.
This is the moment where I put my hand on my shoulder and go, I can't fix this. And it means now you're going to die. You're going to be murdered.
Just very quickly on this though, similar subject. Yes, well, I know we're going to get onto this later, but we were planning our Gamescom stuff yesterday, and Miller was going through the list of all the games we're going to see, and we got down to the Elder Scrolls Online, and Miller was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. And he's like, Steve described this as a game that he'd rather be dead than play this again. And then you put your hand up and go, can I go and see it? Like, this is a game that everyone hates, and you actively want to go and spend a long time.
There's loads of people. I mean, it does look incredibly boring, but there's lots of people who are really excited about it.
I'm fully aware that it probably will be terrible. I want to see why. I haven't seen it.
That's fair enough,
myself.
man. Yeah.
And
doing your job.
Europa's
funny. I was just going to say, I saw somebody on Twitter made an amazing comment about this because it's made by Paradox, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And it's kind of like a bit like Crusader Kings, except like without all of the.
It's
just
in Crusader
politics.
Kings, you play as you like control a dynasty, so you're thinking about the characters and the family and how they're doing. Like you may be controlling a nation, but you're still really thinking about the family.
Individuals, yeah.
Whereas in Europa, you control the nation, and the characters are just there to fill slots, really.
Sure, because I heard somebody on Twitter saying, of course, the real tutorial for playing Europa for Universalis 4 was having a degree in politics and socio-engineering. It does look like incredibly intense in terms of the UI and stuff.
And weirdly, I've put close to 100 hours into Crusader Kings now, and I found Europa horribly intimidating when I started playing. I kind of just sat there looking at it like, oh god, that's a lot of numbers. So we've actually put a video up. I pretty much just got one of the devs to walk me through the demo because after playing 100 hours of a game that's very, very similar, you'd think I'd be all right. Nope, nope, not really. This time though, they have actually put a decent tutorial in the game that isn't completely rubbish. So
yeah, I remember somebody
a big step forward for Paradox.
When the PRD for Paradox sent me a code for Kings 2, Crusader Kings 2, which I tried to play. I really tried. I did try. He literally said, here's the code, here's a bunch of YouTube videos showing you how to play. The tutorials in the game are terrible. It's just like, it's like everybody involved with that game knows that the tutorials are terrible, so they're just like, watch these YouTube videos.
Fair enough.
But the thing is, like, it's horrible when you first start playing, but if you can get past that curve, then it is one of those games that you just lose days to. And it's just a wonderful strategy
My
game.
biggest problem at the moment is I don't have days.
Yeah. Well, make them.
Man, I had to kill to be a child again. If only there was some sort of way you could literally just kill a child. Take their life force.
Yeah.
We wouldn't really be killing it, it'd be more absorbing, you know?
There's a film about that, isn't there?
Isn't that what Snow White does? Snow White, the story of Snow White's about that, right?
Really?
The witch with the mirror.
Yeah, she's like
she needs to kill Snow White so that she can look young and
not
beautiful
specifically
again.
children. First thing I was like,
well, Snow White is basically a child, isn't she? Let's be honest.
I know
She just looks tall because of the The dwarves.
Yeah, that's
The gnome.
perspective.
True facts, yo.
I know what you mean. It wasn't that long ago that I actually had a week that pretty much the main task. The main task. I'm not talking about the Snow White and dwarves here. I had a week where I pretty much dedicated it to watching Downton Abbey. Like I can never do that again.
What?
That's the student lifestyle, right?
When you could have those.
You can't
periods of
really.
time.
Not if you want to be employed.
Yeah,
But what about weekends?
That's not a week.
Yeah.
A weekend is 2 days.
that's like.
Yeah, but you could break it down. You can't just sit, you know.
Hey, that was the beauty of it. It was a week. I was like, I'm going to watch Downton Abbey. I'm going to eat junk food and drink cups of tea. And
All I
that's
did
just
in my
Such
second year
excited
of
life.
university,
Yeah.
all I did in my second year of university was play World of Warcraft, eat chocolate
Wasn't
digestive
it
biscuits.
EastEnders or something?
No, and we watched Neighbours. I
Neighbours,
took
that
breaks
was
to
it.
watch Neighbours.
Twice. You watch it twice.
No, just once.
Oh.
We watched Neighbours
Neighbours.
at lunchtime,
Oh, okay.
And,
that's the preferred one.
had a little cheeky fun, and then we
Pardon?
What was that?
and then we
So
watched
you just added something in the middle of that.
and then we watched what's it called? 6 Feet Under, and that's all I did. And then I found Resident Evil 4, and it changed my life. But that's another story for another time.
Yeah, Steve can relate.
Still had a bit of fun.
Some other games. You've been playing anything, Dave? You've
Nope.
just been getting excited about bloody
Disney Infinity all the time,
haven't
isn't
you?
it? There was a video online yesterday. It made me laugh so much.
You
You've
are
got to go
essentially
watch
just
it.
a big child.
Did you see this video? So they've been
Yeah.
No, I don't watch those videos,
Chris,
Dave.
Chris made it. Love it. Chris and I. Sorry, Burns. That was a
That's all right.
awful slip up there. Yeah, they're doing this series of how-to videos at the moment, and this guy that they've got doing one of them, it's just incredible the way he says it. He's clearly so bored and just does not
he hates
want to
Disney.
play Disney Infinity.
He wraps up the end of the video like he's showing you how to like mess around with the themes, which he gets mixed up. He hasn't got the right power to start with.
I'm the worst at this.
I'm surprised he was like, I'm surprised I haven't been fired yet. Then at the end of the video, he just says, and there you are, there's an underwater castle.
An underwater,
Fantastic.
a castle under the sea. How fantastic!
Dave, you should apply for this job.
Yeah,
It's
Dave, you could
amazing.
nail it.
Be
You've got all
Disney
the
Infinity. You'd
enthusiasm.
be love it. You'd be like, oh my god, it's Ariel.
I am still worried about it though. I'm because I mean they're not talking, are they, in terms of reviews and stuff?
Well, they don't need to. That's the thing. It's not.
gone to certain places. I know that much.
They don't
So
need.
it-
They don't need
but
specialist
yeah,
press.
exactly. It's gone more lifestyle sort of thing. And that's fine.
I was amazed when Activision sent Skylanders to XM. It's like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't review it very well
But it's
because I
just
didn't like it, but
it's out on Sunday, and we don't really know
Well,
much about it.
we
We
don't
know how
need
it
to
works.
because all they need to do is put it on shelves,
I guess.
and then that's
Yeah.
it.
And
Know
then
about
make
Disney
all
and
the money.
toys.
Yeah.
And video games. It's
Yeah.
going to be fine.
The
Yeah.
review, the relationship between critics and consumers in this case is, Mummy, it's Buzz Lightyear. I want it.
But
Sold.
it costs all the
I am
money
look-
I have.
Then you
I
have
am-
to work more, Mummy.
I'm looking forward to it still. I am a bit worried about it, but then there's so much else out on that day. I'd rather play Disney than Splinter Cell though.
No, Splinter Cell looks really boring.
I don't know if we
so
can we say
po-faced.
anything? Is
No, we
this-
can't. We can't.
Right.
But I don't know anything about it because I've not seen the actual game.
Right.
All I've seen is trailers and read stuff about it, and it just looks like a really boring game. But then I find Tom Clancy stuff very dry and boring anyway, because Tom Clancy was like really exciting back in the day, and then he basically became a right-wing propaganda machine
Yeah.
and started.
Hunt for Red October, you know?
Yeah, he did some awesome stuff, and then it seemed like everything he's done recently is just.
The government's out to get you.
It's like just fiction that advocates torture.
Is he involved with this?
Really?
Well, no, he isn't.
He isn't, but-
he did sell his name to Ubisoft, essentially, didn't they? For
Yeah.
I think that
which
makes
is
you
a
partly involved in
crazy-
it,
That's
doesn't
a
it?
crazy, because they could do anything now. Tom Clancy's Animal Fucking Simulator 2014. Like,
I think to keep it in branding, it probably
That was
would just
Ruse,
be
wasn't
Tom Clancy's Animal Fucker.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's, and because they don't do 2013, but then you'd have like Tom Clancy's Animal Fucker 2.
yeah.
No, it wouldn't be two. It'd be like colon and a dramatic word.
Yeah.
Tom Clancy's Animal Fucker
Revengeance.
colon.
Predator.
I think just colon is just dark.
Just colon.
Anyway, that's pretty given as well. Right, we need to move on from this.
Yes.
Somebody, quick, do something.
Saints Row.
Saints
Saints
Row.
Row.
Saints Row.
Yes.
So by the time you hear this, our review of Saints Row 4 will be up by the wonderful John Denton. And yeah, by all accounts, it's very accomplished, and it's a very interesting game. John makes the argument that Saints Row 4 does, in terms of its structure and its narrative, does things that just show Hollywood up in terms of comedy. He says it's the first video game that's a straight out comedy, not like
Yeah.
Tim Schafer or like a kind of GTA style satire. It's just a kind of balls to the wall comedy movie. like essentially, but a game. And he says that other games that have attempted that, like Matt Hazard, are just terrible. But this is it because the setup is you're the president of the United States and a crack dealer, which is probably less bad than what the actual president of the United States does on a daily basis. But anyway,
blimey,
drones.
Do you know about drone strike?
You're dead.
Just quietly. Sorry.
Saints Row, video games.
But and then aliens invade. They take over the planet. You get dropped into a computer simulation. And it's just the craziest parts of the end of Saints Row the Third.
Because this is the thing, because we talked about this really briefly last week, me and Simon, and the gist I had from playing the first sort of half an hour of the game is just the intro to the game is just spectacular. Mm-hmm. It's a tour de force of madness. And even though like the game itself isn't, I don't think those guys make games that are mechanically sharp enough for me to just be like, oh, I love playing this game. I was really enjoying it, and I just wanted to see what was going to happen next. And then when I realized that the whole premise of the game is, hey, you're in a simulation controlled by aliens.
So now we can do absolutely anything.
And it kind of basically was just sort of already going, so we can do whatever we want and not justify it at all. And I kind of thought, you better make use of this. And it sounds like it does.
Well, to quote John's review, he said, literally had no idea what was going to happen next. And it kind of, I think the humour of it and everything, it seems a bit reminiscent of the old kind of, was it Zucker Abrams, Zucker movies where... like Airplane.
I was going to say.
It just keeps going. It's got this. The premise is the same. They're somewhere doing something, but every 5 seconds something funny happens, and it's just hard and fast. And some of it might not come off, but apparently, like there's no exposition as well. Like when at one point someone starts giving a big expositional piece, and the president just says, "Shut the fuck up," basically, then jumps over the city, and you're like, brilliant.
All right.
And apparently, it's just it's the best parts of the craziest parts of the third, so kind of towards the end of the Saints Row the Third, it went absolutely insane, and it's played in a way that just reinforces that what Saints Row was and what it's become. It was this real pretender to GTA. It was a horrible rip-off essentially, but they could because there was no GTA in the early days of Xbox 360, and now it's something else entirely, and that evolution is wonderful. For us as gamers and for Volition. They don't have to be the GTA wannabes anymore.
I think it's great to see them moving away from sex as well. And I don't want to do the double prude bonus points here after talking about the cops, but I felt like a lot of the humour in 3, even though it was like just off the wall, it was all like sex driven a little bit. It was all like
you can play as a sex doll.
Sex dolls, and it was kind of like, you know what, it was funny, but it's always cheap, because it's like with any humour there are easy gags, swearing, sex, like it's not hard to make those things funny. They're just naturally quite funny because they're a bit taboo, but it felt like from what I played before that it was actually kind of like a bit more accomplished in terms of actually making itself work for the jokes a little bit more, rather than just being like, oh, tits. And actually I've not been fond of the way that they've advertised the Saints Row for a while. I hope they move away from that.
A little bit,
because we were at a little press event recently, which was just I just popped along to play the game, and it was a nice event. But it was this thing of like, it wasn't like offensive or anything, but it was this thing of like they had lots of women like kind of like dressed in these really sexy little outfits, walking around, being like policemen and stuff, and it was just like I kind of got it.
You didn't shoot them, did you?
I didn't shoot
the problem
them,
comes from?
Mate. I just gunned them all down, but before that, I just killed a woman. I just killed this woman in the back room. Don't tell anyone about this. I think
was it?
I have been trying to lay low, but I did kill 8 people, and they do have my fingerprints. But luckily, I've never been caught since or before, which means I'm probably going to get away with it. But it just felt weird because it was like, hang on a minute. Why are all these women walking around with boobs out a little bit? Because it's like, that's not what Saints Row is about. If anything, you should also have men walking around with leather pants.
That's what I was going to say.
Because it's like Saints Row doesn't feel like it's about sex anymore. It just feels like it's about the ludicrous. And it's nice that I get the impression they've just gone, let's just make it mental.
One problem I've always had with that series, though, is the way they treat the characters. It's always like it thinks that you care about who they are. And we discussed this briefly before, I think. And I hope they haven't done that again, because I don't know who bloody Shaundy is. They keep going on about, Gat's back. Like, I don't give a fuck. Who's Gat?
A few moments like that.
And
I mean, I would say, and the fact that you go from the tagline is from the crack house to the White House,
amazing.
And the fact you're in a simulation and anything goes, I would be surprised.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it. I mean, actually, it did start having jokes like at the start. It was like, why are we working with this guy? He used to be like the guy who's trying to kill us. I get the impression that the bad guy from Saints Row 3 is from immediately at the start of Saints Row 4 is now one of the good guys.
Yeah,
for just no reason. But that kind of disregard for the prior plot and prior characterization gives me the impression that you'll probably have fun with it if you know the people. But
yeah,
also,
there'll be a few in-jokes.
I got the impression that it knew I didn't give a fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of more. Well, not that it knew, but it knew there was a chance I didn't give a fuck, which pleased me because I know what you mean. Saints Row 3, it was like, had this started off with this joke of them all wearing big bobbleheads on one of the guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on here exactly?
Yeah,
I thought it was a bug.
I started with Saints Row 3.
Yeah, I thought it was a bug.
It's speaking of like changing teams. If you're the bad guy, it's just that line from National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 where the sidekick gets killed in one scene. The next scene, he just pops back in. You see him get like body bagged. Pops back in and the guy goes, I thought you were dead. And he goes, I thought this was the sequel. And it just seems like it's that sort of gag running through the whole thing. Very self-referential and good. Because, oh man, I just play you not played the first Saints Row? Because play the first Saints Row now. It's so unbelievably like gangster and yo, we're part of the Saints, yo. It's like proper exhibit kind of bullshit.
And doesn't it like take it seriously? Like you can like pimp up your house with gold bling and all that, and like you can buy like massive rings and stuff. But the thing is, it's dead serious. Like it's not even taking the piss. It's like you can bling up your character. Yeah,
that's kind of what I loved about Saints Row: Blood in the Sand. Not Saints Row, 50 Cent. God, I'm really struggling with words today. 50 Cent, Blood in the Sand, and the fact that was a game that clearly like took itself seriously to a degree. But then it was just so bad that
it worked because it became hilarious.
I gotta get back my skull.
Because you got the impression that 50 Cent took his role in that quite seriously, and yet it was just appalling. And yet it's one of the most fun games you can buy.
It's
just
brilliant.
because of the fact that it has no filler. It's like you switch it on and you just immediately start shooting everything.
It's just a 50 Cent modded army of two.
There
really,
is
great.
a certain parallel towards those two franchises because the 50 Cent game that came before it, Bulletproof, was super, super serious, even more so than Blood on the Sand. And it was terrible because, and it had, I remember a magazine PSM 2 back in the day. It had in the last page, like a lot of magazines do and did, they had like a funny or humorous page, and it had all of the killings from that game, and some of them are horrible. Like you run up, press B or whatever or X, and slash someone's intestines out.
Nice.
But it's also played with this rap soundtrack, like a real glorification of violence for no fucking reason. But they were giving it like gentleman's ratings, like just run up and shove a knife up his chaff. Yeah, it's quite, and as if they were taking it seriously as well. And I played that Bulletproof. It's just unplayable. Blood on the Sand. They obviously thought, right, you got to keep 50 happy, or 50. But just make it fucking dumb. Make it so a helicopter flies in, shoots it, flies into a building. Don't worry about the damage. Yeah. You just run off. You're after a crystal skull.
It wasn't a 50 Cent game, was it, originally?
Blood on the Sand?
Yeah, they created the game, and then apparently...
you can't just shoehorn 50 Cent into your video games.
I was telling you
can, and it works perfectly.
I've probably told this story already, but
who was it?
Was
it Swordfish that made it?
Yeah, the story is basically, I heard this from someone years ago, that basically these guys working on a kind of a third-person squad-based like Iraq, like Middle Eastern shooter, and then their company got bought out, and then they were told they were working on a Saints Row game. It was literally
Saints Row.
Not so. I've done it. Fucking done it again.
Yeah.
50 Cent. God, they have a similar phonetic bit at one bit of them. It's bollocks.
You know that harrowing journey into post-war Iraq with the squad.
We're
gonna
keep some of these elements. Don't worry.
We're gonna get 50 Cent.
How do you guys feel about pimped out crystal skulls being stolen?
We're not after Saddam. We're just after a diamond skull.
It's political commentary.
Now, here's the synopsis. There's this bitch. She's taken his skull, and he wants his skull back. So he's going to say, first off the exposition, he's going to say, "Bitch took my skull."
Gonna get it back.
And then what happens is it's kind of a character-driven journey in which we see Fiddy, the protagonist, and his G squad, G unit, going to track down the bitch so he can find the bitch and get the skull back off the bitch that done taken his skull.
Oh, I need to go and play it right now.
See, I'm joking, but this is literally the way that the dialogue is. Bitch got my skull. That's one of the only bits of dialogue I remember.
And their music plays in the background.
Yeah.
It's completely non-ironic.
And you can choose to unlock new weapons or new sets of profanity. And the new sets of profanity in that game cost as much as the weapons. So it is literally... you kind of go, do I want the best assault rifle in the game or do I want the best set of swears? It's an amazing game.
What does it class as the best swear? What's the most expensive?
Well, actually, I was really gutted. I was expecting it to be like, motherfucker, can't fucking do it. And actually, it was just like slightly angrier versions of motherfucker rather than really going for it, which disappointed me, I've got to be honest. But it's an amazing game. I imagine when the devs were told one day, oh yeah, by the way, guys, now you're working on a 50 Cent game, they probably wanted to kill themselves or cry. But I hope now that the devs involved with making that game have the sense to look back and go, you know what, I'm bloody proud of that, because it is a great game. It shouldn't be, but it really is. Anyway, one last game I will mention is the fact that me and Brat kicked off the Pantsman origin story last night.
Yeah.
Which was the tale of how Pantsman found his pants.
He's not Pantsman, yeah.
He's not. He's Pantaloon Man at the moment. That's the thing, is because we realised we're playing Demon Souls on PS3, which has been really entertaining because I've not really played Demon Souls much, so I've already died way more than anyone should. And we've also realised it's impossible to really strip down into nothing, which is really disappointing.
That's one of the big step forwards with Dark Souls. Most people seem to remember that as the key.
Yeah, that was one of the major changes in the series.
You need to be naked in Dark Souls too, or it was
I'm really concerned actually that if they don't put in support for almost nakedness in Dark Souls 2, we're buggered.
We were talking at the preview event that you haven't seen the inventory screen yet, so
I don't know.
That hidden from you. We don't know.
I'm really concerned.
Question for Gamescom.
That is a Gamescom question.
Yeah. If we get a chance, we have to ask. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm wearing leather chaps, but that's a different story. And tune in not next Tuesday, because next Tuesday Gamescom we'll talk about it. But it'll probably be on YouTube, actually. It's quite fun if you want to tune in. There's a point at which I chase a lizard off a cliff, and there's a point at which Tom Orrery, amazingly, really, really fucks me over.
he invades your game.
He ruins everything, and it's quite bad.
I liked it.
Anyway, we're going to skip news this week because there's nothing really happening, and we're going to dive straight into Dave Scannell's Sexy Pool of Gamescom.
Wow, jump in the pool.
Have
it's
a
really
paddle,
nice.
get yourself all...
It's Gamescom next week.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Are you excited?
No.
No, I'm not either, actually.
I am.
I'm excited.
I can't wait.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because Gamescom is the last thing that really stands between me and Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, and you're going to say that.
So I can't get excited about GTA 5 until
you pass that landmark.
Gamescom is over, because I know there's a whole week of shenanigans and nonsense to get over. But once that's done...
Basically Christmas.
Yeah, pretty much. You've got to get over, say that from the 20th to the 24th, you're like, the home stretch, get over that. And then I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sort of looking forward to it. I'm sort of not. I'm mainly worried that it's going to make the same mistake that Gamescom has made every year, in the fact that there's this weird thing within the games industry. It's still very much like in the iron grip of America. And because of that, Americans are very kind of... Well, not Americans, but large American companies can very much see America as being the world. And to a degree, there's a good reason for that, because they make tons of their money from the American market. So they can kind of afford to just let everything else be secondary or tertiary. However, it just means everyone's still as obsessed with E3 as being the place to do anything interesting. And it's dumb, because E3 is oversaturated, and Gamescom, you've got 250,000 German kids there in like 3 days, and loads of press from EU, and then people don't use it.
So what's actually new at Gamescom then? What are we
Well, we don't know at the moment. There's a bunch of stuff that's rumoured to be being shown, but it's more that there might be some games that we haven't seen yet being shown. I'm really hoping there will be. But really, it'd just be nice to get some proper announcements. I mean, Microsoft have teased something exciting, but God knows what that'll be. I mean, their definition of exciting these days is just...
It's a unique exclusive, whatever that might be. But they haven't actually said it's a new game. They just haven't named...
It'd be like that time early this week where he said, hey, Matt, here's some exciting news. And it was just a Wii U game.
Just a Wii U game.
What was it?
I think it was Art Academy.
Yeah, Art Academy on Wii U. Hey, Matt, I've got some exciting news. What is it? Art Academy on Wii U.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be like a deal with Peppa Pig or something.
The Peppa Pig Connect experience.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I mean, there is some stuff, actually. There's a couple of things we do know about. And actually, if you like the sort of games that I like, then do check back onto our website at the start of next week when Gamescom kicks off, because I am going to have something quite cool lined up for that, something I'm very excited about, a little video. But apart from that, I'm just hoping we get some news, because otherwise it kind of always feels like Gamescom feels like you go to somebody's house for a dinner party and they're just serving reheats from the night before.
Yeah, it's too close. It's too close.
It's all like, what game are you showing? We've seen this build at E3. It's always like they've just made a build, and then that's their build before launch.
This one might be interesting to see how far games have actually come since E3, because obviously I think they know they've got Xbox One final dev kits now. Has that made an impact? Has it progressed, or has it actually regressed from how they looked a few months ago? So that might be quite interesting.
Yeah, actually, there are some cases like Dead Rising 3. I'm really interested in, because that ran like a dog at E3. It ran very badly.
I was shocked behind closed door.
I was.
And I think
it was just a juddery mess that it couldn't handle the game, and they kept talking about how many zombies and stuff was happening. But it's like, but you haven't got a frame rate. Like, it's like
you can't brag about it.
And resolution-wise, it didn't.
The resolution was poor. It was dropping like sub 20 frames very often. And I mean, I'm not a frame rate like Nazi. I think 30's fine, frankly, a lot of the time. But anything below 30, no. Yeah. And I'm hoping that was just because at that point they didn't actually have the hardware nailed down for the 360. Yeah. So not for the Xbox One. Yeah. So that hopefully things will be a bit more optimized.
You look at things like Watch Dogs as well. Every time they put a new trailer out, it seems to look
worse. Yeah.
Stop putting trailers out now.
Yeah, you compare that to the E3 reveal last year. It's just different.
Well, it's because they do it all on souped up PCs.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that now we're getting a closer look of what these consoles are actually going to look like at launch.
Yeah, it sounds like even E3 there was a lot of like hiding behind the curtains what hardware you're actually running this on.
Like, it's been that way for a long time.
Yeah, it's a shame. But like you say, maybe
that's how it's done.
Yeah,
it is always how it's done. I've heard tales even from 2 years ago, actually, 2 or 3 years ago. People were being told like that they're showing a game which was being demoed on 360, which then ended up crashing back to the Windows 7 desktop. So I've heard lots of tales of that. So that's not new.
Something Phil Spencer yesterday was we're going to be showing it on actual kit. It's like, oh, what you weren't before then? Was that what you were saying? Right.
I think everyone needs to kind of, and I don't know. I would never say to people don't be excited, but I think people need to like temper their expectations, because in the last few jumps that we've had between consoles, so let's just say we went from 2D to 3D and then from standard to high definition. I've played a few PS4 and Xbox One games like FIFA and Thief and others, and they don't look amazingly better. And Xbox 360 games, what they had going for them, or PS3 games, is that they had their resolution jump. Even if they weren't great, they had that res jump, and you go, well, this looks demonstrably better. Whereas now you're like, okay, it's a bit shinier. So I think with stuff like, you're not gonna be like, oh, especially if you've got a PC that was made in the last year or two.
Yeah.
But it's more exciting for infrastructure this year and with Gamescom, and I think Microsoft are backtracking so much. Yeah. They'll probably just say, look, it's a fridge.
I'm really, what?
That's the most interesting part.
I'm really interested to see how well the consoles do at launch, just because I get the impression that I was an early adopter buying my souped-up PC about 2 years ago. But I'm getting the impression that because this console generation has been so long, that increasingly a lot of kind of more hardcore gamers have just watched their mates playing stuff on PC and gone, oh, I can't be arsed waiting, and just bought a nice PC and then plugged in a wired 360 pad, and then just suddenly found themselves going, why did I put up with all of that ads on the dashboard bullshit for so long?
Well, I was playing Deus Ex the other day. I really want to play through Human Revolution again, and so I bought, it's always on sale, so I bought it for like £2 on Steam from Green Man.
It's mental, isn't it?
It's great, and I installed it, and I was like, so I went to play it, and I was like, oh, I've got to do this opening where you go through the lab and there's an attack. And I was like, actually, no. Typed in Deus Ex Human Revolution mods PC. Suddenly, there's a whole debug menu. You just pop it into your Human Revolution and Steam app file. And it's got everything. You can just give yourself all the weapons. You can stop that horrible recharging bullshit for you can make it last like half a second longer or whatever. And it's just like, oh, you can skip levels. There's the whole thing where there's like a whole map viewer that they've built where you can just skip between the various, like you can play E3 builds from 2 years ago. Like, fuck you, consoles, no more. So, and with Watch Dogs, I will be playing that on my souped up PC.
And the way the mod stuff is quite like integrated into Steam as well, so you can just be like, what, do you want to play with this mod?
Steam Workshop. Okay. Oh yeah, I'll just download this faction for Civ 5,
I bought Dark Souls for a £5 on PC just because at some point when I have a rainy day, I'm just going to download every mod for that and just play with it. Just make that game look beautiful. Because I get the impression that Dark Souls is the sort of game that in 5 years' time somebody will still be modding for it. And they'll be like, oh, here's a game that makes Dark Souls run at 60 frames a second and look like the best game you've ever played. I'll be like, I'll download that.
People are still making awesome mods for Morrowind. That community is still thriving. And it's beautiful. On the consoles, I mean, no one's even playing Skyrim at the moment now by the sounds of it. Like that's had its time, but on the PC it's like massively alive.
GTA 4, sorry Dave. Sorry,
go on.
Been playing GTA 4 with Ice Enhancer and all the mods and all of that and all that HD texture packs. It just looks ridiculous. I'm running it at like 40 frames. And just people's whole lives dedicated to making the ground textures so the road look amazing. You install all of that, and I'm like, oh my, and then you see GTA 5 trailer. GTA 5 looks really nice, but in the back of my mind, I can't wait for GTA 5, as you probably know.
In the back of my mind, what if Ice Mod?
In the back of my mind, I'm just going, I'm going to get that Ice Mod for GTA 5 PC one day, and then it's all over. It's all done for me.
The thing that I find weird, though, you were talking about the jump from previous generations, and this one perhaps being lesser so, is that particularly when it comes to PS4, I think the first-party stuff visually looks weaker than the third-party stuff. Like Drive Club, you compare that to Need for Speed, and I know people, you always like wind me up at Need for Speed, but Need for Speed Rivals visually looks like a different generation compared to Drive Club.
There is a talent question as well. But having said that, to back up your point there, is that I played through Killzone.
Killzone, I don't think
is it Shadowfall, right?
Shadowfall.
Yeah. And sorry, Mercenaries in my mind, Vita one. But I played it at an event in London we went to, and I was like, yeah, looks all right. And I don't want to be thinking it looks all right. And that's not even kind of entitled PC master race. It does just look all right for all the reasons we've talked about. And so, but in a year or so's time, we will probably be going, oh yeah, that looks.
I'm really hoping. I mean, the thing I'm most excited about with Gamescom is E3 is always a mad flurry, and this year's E3 actually was just this clusterfuck because there was the Xbox One announcement, and it was just this scramble for interviews, and Microsoft generally were kind of like crazy backpedaling, terrified deers in the headlights, and it meant that it was really impossible to gauge. Everything got lost, basically. It became very difficult to gauge what the hell was going on. It became very difficult to gauge how much I actually liked anything that they were showing because there was just so much emotion and so much confusion and so many mixed messages that it kind of became hard to focus.
We stopped talking about the games as well with both those consoles.
We did, and that was difficult, but also because it was difficult to see what the games were. I mean, Rise, we were just showing a little QTE, chop 'em up, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a good game, and Simon actually has seen the game and he seemed quite impressed by it. I think Dave's going to see it this time just to make sure that Simon isn't mental. Seems fair. But also, I mean, Project Spark. I mean, the more I see about that, they've released like demos where they just play it for an hour, and I'm just like, holy piss! Like, as somebody who fell in love with Ratchet and Clank, not Ratchet and Clank, I did fall in love with that. That's a different bloody story. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Simply because of the creation stuff and that, I loved it. Being like, make your own stuff. This idea of being able to make your own little worlds and make your own objects and items and AI, it's like, I like that. I might get that.
I love how they're showing it off as well. The initial trailers were great, and although it was just hard to gauge exactly what was going on, more recently they've just been doing, like, they did a Twitch live stream with a Q&A with the devs, and they just played it and let people watch and enjoy it.
Well, people for a long time have been saying, oh, what's the next Minecraft going to be? And it's like, I look at this and go, it might be this. Like, it might actually be this because for years, when I was growing up, I was obsessed with programs that let you make your own little games and make your own things. There's a game called Game Maker back in the day, and that's still going, actually. It's much more competent than it was when I used to play with it. But there was a thing called the Game Factory that was terrible, but I used to love that. I was obsessed with stuff that let you make your own little games. And
I'm still worried, though. When I was a kid and I was doing stuff like that, the idea that you'd have to pay to unlock certain things would have put me right off, and I think that would have put a lot of people off Minecraft.
But it is going to be free to download in the first place, which makes a difference.
We'll see. That'll be interesting.
Give them the first hit for free. Come on now, you're an established drug dealer.
That's how you get kids involved.
Talking about the consoles themselves for a minute, what I find quite interesting is that both the campaigns seem to be apologist, essentially. So PS4, when they announced PS4, it was very much, we know we messed up with PS3. We're sorry for that. We won't do it again. Now it's Microsoft going, we know we messed up Xbox One, we're sorry about that, we won't do it again. And so they're kind of both going on this almost a humble type of...
I think everyone's terrified.
Everyone's
been terrified for
the
2
confidence
years.
has been shot.
No, but I mean, the confidence in the console market has been shot for years. I mean, look at how many really smart industry figureheads we've seen just getting out of games, or getting out of big budget games anyway in the past couple of years. Everyone's just like, thanks guys, I'm off now. And they've all just gone off to work on projects, and no one's talking about what they are because I don't think they're working on big games anymore.
No.
I think the times are changing. Times are changing.
What are we expecting though? What do you think? Big announcements?
Well,
price
actually,
cuts?
the problem is
release
I know
dates?
what for me, the most exciting thing I think that's going to be there personally.
Right.
I know what it is.
Okay.
And I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'd be very surprised, just because it's to do with a game that I am such a fan for, that I'd be very surprised if anything comes up that excites me more than that.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Do you reckon there will be? What kind of announcements are you expecting from the consoles? I have no idea.
In terms of new games?
No, in terms of like, will they... Is there any
I think they'll
kind of
both announce
price?
release dates. I think they have to. I think it's affecting pre-orders at the moment. Activision already said Ghost is down on pre-orders because people don't know what console they're going to buy it on because they don't know when it's coming out.
Split your user
So,
base.
yeah, so I think for the sake of the third parties, they both have to do it. Otherwise, it's going to piss them off.
Speaking of ghosts,
Yeah. Multiplayer revealed today.
yes.
Oh yeah.
So we got our man on the ground.
Yeah, not me, not
in
you,
Los
not any
Angeles,
of
not
us.
me, thankfully. But yeah,
I don't think
so
they'll let you in to look at Call of Duty.
Where's
anymore,
Simon?
No,
Where's Simon?
I'm not allowed back.
Yeah.
Not after I laughed behind the scenes when they were talking about the dog at E3. They were like,
What was it? Yeah.
it was something about the dog's ears, I think. And then it was like, and the dog has all the latest kit, and then like a little periscope came out its back.
Didn't you offend Eric Hirschberg?
Well, I didn't. I don't think I offended him. I just think that
He thought, who is this joker? Get out
I
my
did
room.
I did a yawn during. I mean, I was very tired. It was a very long trip, and I did a yawn, but I didn't want to go on the stage while Hirschberg was speaking to know that I was yawning. So I turned to one side and put my hand over my mouth. And but then I realised Hirschberg actually wasn't on the stage.
So you directed
He'd
the yawn
left,
at him.
and he was standing on
Oh,
my
no.
right, waiting in the wings to go
God,
back
you
on.
could have done that any worse.
And he looked at me, and I was like, and whatever. But ghosts. So we'll be seeing that later today, and I'm not holding out much hope.
Really?
Well, I mean, I really like Call of Duty. I'm not one of those guys that hates Call of Duty.
Just the same
I just
now,
think,
though, right? You know what to expect.
I'm
You know what
sticking
to-
with my guns on this one. I've had a gut feeling from day one. We've talked about it in the podcast a lot. I get the impression that this one is not. They're not that invested in this one.
No.
I think the next year's one, they'll
Yep.
make it a big deal again.
Modern Warfare 4.
But I think with this one, they're just going,
Dogs.
"Oh, fuck it, we'll make some money.
we need a Call of Duty this year.
Yeah, like I
It's
think,
a
I
Call
think
of
this is the
Duty.
first one where it just feels like it's going to be a bit phoned in. I could be wrong. It may well be one of those weird cases where on a commercial level, Activision are just going, I don't know, it doesn't really matter that much. They're not really making too big a deal of it. Whereas actually, it might be that, as is often the case with big publishers and the disconnect with developers, they might actually crack out an amazing game. It might be like one
Like
that-
Singularity.
They're not, yeah, like Singularity. It'd be like this thing of being like, oh, it's probably not going to be that big a deal, and then it might come out and we're like, actually, even though no one really thought we care about this, it's actually really, really good.
You feel like
I
they're more
hope so.
excited for Destiny, I think, at the moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
I'm getting more and more excited for Destiny.
I'm hot for that.
but
Hot for
yeah.
teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so I
Probably
think it's
back-
time for some questions. You've got to
Questions.
dip your hand into the question bag
Okay.
and come up with some
let's
sugar
have a look.
cubes.
Okay, so from the Video Gamer forums, we've got. This is a good one to actually start with. We've just been talking about Gamescom. Will we be doing a podcast with Matt Nallis? We've talked about.
Yes,
before.
hopefully. We need to
Yeah.
contact him. He might be in the riot, the thrall of the riot types.
Sure.
Because I don't know, they're doing stuff at Gamescom, I assume, because, Germany, kids, PC gaming, and because he is living in Cologne. Because we're hopefully going to do podcasts, at least one or two podcasts during Gamescom. So hopefully we'll try and get him on one of them.
Yeah, definitely. From Twitter, we've got Mitchell Bennett who asks, 2014 looks to be an RPG lover's dream. Which of the big three are you most excited for? Witcher, Dragon Age, or Dark Souls? That is a very tough question.
I'm not really an RPG man myself.
Oh, dude, I am.
What was the choices? Witcher, Dark Souls, and
Dragon Age?
Dragon Age.
Well, Dragon Age is out for me. Dark Souls is a definite.
Dragon Age is out just because of the last one.
Just Dragon. No, just. It's,
Oh, not your
Well,
series.
this is the thing with, I think I've said before, with fantasy sort of stuff, I really dislike, was it high fantasy, that sort of sword and sorcery thing. But Dark Souls and Demon Souls has a real bleakness to it and a real beauty that just drags you
You
through.
play the first Dragon Age?
Yeah, well, it's really good, but it's not. I played it despite the trappings of the genre. So yeah, it's good, but the sequel,
Yeah, no, I
that's
didn't play
out. Witcher, yes.
I'm lucky enough to have seen about 45 minutes of The Witcher 3, so I can
I'm
very
looking
easily
forward to
say
seeing
that's
it.
mine.
That's one of those cases where I didn't get to see The Witcher 3 at E3, and I'm happily just going to go and watch the same demo that other people have already seen, just because I want to see it.
The trailer they released, was it today or yesterday?
Today, CGI trailer.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they showed that before
Yeah.
before the demo, and the demo was all surrounding that kind of stuff. It was incredible.
I'm excited. But the thing is, I'm probably going to have to go for Dark Souls out of that simply
Yeah.
because I still haven't played The Witcher 2. I really, really want to play The Witcher 2. I just haven't found the time.
Yeah.
And
I own it.
I want to. I own it twice. I've got 2 copies of it.
You know what? That's got a little bit of the paradox thing about it. It's intimidating when you first start playing. The controls feel awkward. Once you get past that, it's incredible. But
Well, I just love
the
the story
start's-
stuff.
start's tough.
I know it's such a big game. I'm always afraid of big games. I know it's too much to bite off. Also, because I'm always on PC, and all it takes is for one person to go Dota, and I go yeah. It's like I've basically become like an extremely geeky version of a Halo player or a Call of Duty player. I just like switch on my games console every night and just play the same game. But hey.
This is from Philip Denton, who asks, have any of you played the wonderful 101 demo yet, and are you looking forward to the full game? I think Dave, you've played a preview
not-
build before, haven't you?
Well, I played it before Wii U was out, but it's different now. The controls are different.
Right, okay.
Back then, because the idea of the game is that you can form your little minions or whatever they call
It's
them.
kind of like Pikmin, but you put them into shapes, right?
Yeah, you put them into shapes and they can form different weapons with those shapes. Back then, the gamepad, it was literally 3 options on the gamepad and you tapped different buttons on the gamepad to form.
Massively different then.
Yeah. Whereas now, I believe you
draw
actually have
them,
to draw the
Yeah.
shapes. I haven't tried that.
I
don't
haven't
know.
tried it either. I've heard mixed things though. Some people have said that the drawing is complicated for more complex.
Some people are
things.
saying it's it's
However,
what the Wii U was designed
I've
for.
had other people say that it works really well. So I don't know. I haven't played it myself yet, but I've had people I trust who said it's really good.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to getting some time to do that, actually. Let's have a look. Which one was better, asked Chris Williams, Clementine, Elizabeth, or Ali?
Ali?
I can't... I pronounce things weirdly, man.
Where's it?
Ellie.
Ellie.
Yeah, that's-
oh, Last of Us Ellie.
It's not pronouncing
Yeah.
weirdly. It's pronouncing wrong.
Yeah.
But
Kirstie Alley.
that's not even a Stoke.
Which was better?
Oh, I don't know.
Ellie's the one that springs to mind immediately, but I've not
Clementine.
finished The Walking Dead, so I can't really say.
I'd say
Little Clem.
it's a tie between Ellie and Clem for me because Clem is excellent, and it's a different sort of character. It's a lot less emotionally intense at times in The Walking Dead, but just some of the way that that Clem responds to you, and some of the ways it's just
Yeah, I Elizabeth, I guess... I
didn't like Elizabeth.
But
Elizabeth was shit. I'm going to throw that one out there, to be honest. She was really, as a character, she was shit. And obviously, I've kind of been the person leading the kind of Bioshock Infinite was slightly disappointing brigade.
hate campaign.
Well, no, it's not hate, because I
know
did
it is.
enjoy it, but a lot of people are like, why do you hate it? And I was like, I didn't hate it. I was really excited about it, and then it came out, and I thought, it's good.
It's an 8.
Yeah.
It is an 8 out of 10.
It's
But-
a video gamer 8 as well.
There
So.
you go. You got
But-
that one right, Burns.
But I will say that her characterization was all over the place. She was just
Yeah.
like, it didn't make
Yeah.
sense. Her decisions didn't make sense. And she was basically, a lot of people were like, oh, Elizabeth, I got so into that game. It's like, I'm not being funny, mate. Have a wank. Just have a big wank, a big old wank, and then look at it again. And then you'll sort of realize she's just a doe-eyed Disney princess whose motivations and character doesn't really make any sense.
I
Maybe
have-
she's born with it. Maybe it's Ken Levine.
That was fantastic.
We'll see you next
There you
week.
go. That's incredible, Dave. If I was your boss now, I'd give you the rest of the day off. But I'm not, so you got to carry on.
Yep. Let's see. We've got... This is from Ant, also known as Badger Biscuit. Great Twitter handle
That's a
there.
great name.
What's the best of the Traveller's Tales Lego games? He thinks Star Wars: The Complete Saga. I haven't...
No, I'd say no, because the early Star Wars games actually haven't stood up as well.
No.
I'd say, controversial, yeah, the Harry Potter ones.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan in the world, but I thought that the spells and exploring Hogwarts were a really nice, really nice mix for it.
Very, very well realised as well.
Because I ended up playing quite a lot of them, Lego games.
I played 1 or 2 and I feel like I don't need to play anymore now.
But that's why, because I used to review a lot of them for XM, and every time I got handed a new one, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
and
Because
then
it's like,
find yourself-
I always go, I've played so many of these. But then I'd switch it on and I'd start playing it and go,
Yeah, all right.
you know what? I'm still having fun. This is still loads of fun.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings one.
I've heard that's pretty good as well.
Despite the fact that, as you said, it's another kind of Lego TT game. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
I don't like them. They
I
don't do anything for me. I don't enjoy them.
and yet,
That's fine, Dave.
Yeah.
There you go. Dave says none.
None.
I
I
tell
enjoy
you what,
Disney Universe more than that. But that's another story.
I did prefer them before they had actual dialogue in. I always preferred the comedy of it when it was the kind of...
Yeah, I was going to say Lego Batman 2, the one was...
Yeah, that's right.
It was... I kind of liked it, but...
It was like dialogue was good, but the thing I liked about the Lego is the humor was all based around their kind of facial expressions and what these little Lego characters was doing, and it relied on you knowing what that story was. Whereas Lego Batman 2 was a new thing that they'd done.
Yeah, that was sort of
They
open
needed
world.
to
There was a lot of
explain it.
stuff there. It was interesting. Anyway, next question.
Okay. Are any of you interested in Star Citizen? And did you make a pledge? I am very, very interested in Star Citizen.
Of course you are, Star Drive.
And didn't make a pledge because I'm a terrible person.
What?
But it raised about $6 million anyway, so I don't feel too
It's
bad.
fine then.
Yeah, I
And
think
also
that'd
there
be
was a
fine.
Kickstarter for a Japanese RPG with a theme, well, music score done by Nobi Yametsu. I think that's how you pronounce
I
his
think,
name.
yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Nobby. That's going to be awesome. 'cause
I'm
I
intrigued.
love Nobby's nuts.
I'm intrigued. I saw it before they announced it last... Was that last year now? There was no game. No game. It was just a demo of...
Yeah, but that
of
is...
the-
yes,
of the world.
at
Except it
that
wasn't
point
the
in
world.
time,
It was
it was
the
very hard to
universe.
show it, wasn't it? Like,
Well, I
it's
don't
one of
know.
those games that you
It
need to-
looked nice. Visually speaking, it looks gorgeous. The best game I think I've ever seen. But there was just nothing to it. Hop in your spaceship and fly around space. That's fine, but what you can do with it?
Well, explore the universe, Dave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if there's nothing in the
Everything.
universe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, Buzz.
I love it being like, well, you know, flying around a spaceship. What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point in going through space? But no, I know what you mean. We'll see.
Great idea. We'll see what they do with it.
Yeah, they've got a lot of money, so they better fucking do something.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all my questions off the Ultimate Sheet of Podcast.
Okay, the
Wow.
ultimate podcast with the cursory coffee mug stain. How's there a coffee mug stain? There isn't any coffee mugs in here.
Yeah, sorry.
That's
That doesn't
not
make any
coffee.
sense. That defies. Oh,
Happened in the
God.
past, didn't it?
And finally, we should announce we got a brand new Reader of the Month.
Member
of the Month.
One of those competitions we do.
Are you okay, man?
I'm not okay. I'm not okay. The word part of my brain feels like it's been scrambled. It feels like somebody's made it feel like a cream egg.
That was a reference to the live stream, which you guys clearly didn't watch.
Yeah, man.
Worse.
It's my new
ruminate.
insult. I've
I know.
decided.
Yeah.
It's my new insult I just made up when I was playing Demon Souls is I'm going to make you feel like a fucking cream egg.
Yeah.
It's more of a threat, actually.
I
Yeah.
love cream eggs.
I'm going to make you feel like a cream egg.
If that was in
Don't know what it
Sexy
means.
Beast, Ben Kingsley saying
Well,
it,
that's
would
it.
seem utterly threatening.
Yeah, you've got to
It's
say
either.
that
Yeah,
persona.
that's exactly who I was thinking of, actually, when I was doing it. So,
He's in that, yeah.
synergy.
So,
But anyway, what you got to do, now we've talked about Sexy Beast, this is a nice thread, amazingly, is because we like the mask creation stuff in Payday 2, we want you to not use the Payday 2 mask creator to create a mask. That'd be just too much work. Just design a mask. Design a mask. It can be any kind of mask. It can be like a hockey mask, a
Yep.
full mask, a masquerade mask. But let's just say that there's the brief, right? The Video Gamer team, all of us, we're going to go and rob a bank, right?
Mhm.
This is not a
We
joke.
don't want to get caught.
This
that's
is
pretty
not a
high
joke.
up on
If
the
you work
list.
for the police, you should arrest us now because we are genuinely going to rob a bank.
Where do I need to be?
We're not going to rob a bank.
Oh.
But we are going to rob a bank. So we want you
Exactly.
to design us masks. And you don't have to design all of them. You can just design a mask. But the person who designs the best mask will probably be Simon because he's going to be the leader of the gang, obviously, because he's the guy who walks in and tells everyone to get on the floor. You get on the fucking floor. So basically, we need you to design a mask for Simon. You can design masks for more of us if you want to, but at the very least, the criteria here, and do listen to the criteria, because if you win this, you win a free game worth up to £50 of your choice, which is pretty decent. But do listen to the criteria, because so many entries we've had of recent ones have been really good, but just
we
haven't
can't-
listened
yeah.
to the criteria, so aren't eligible. So it's like, oh mate, you just lost 40 quid. Never mind. Yeah, so design a
I
mask.
thought you said 50 quid. What, you just pocketed £10, sir.
Mate, that's what I do. I'm a scumbag. I break into banks. I steal £10.
Yep.
I should have just broken into a post office. Anyway, that's what you got to do, and you've got roughly a month, and we will showcase the best efforts in video form as we always
Yep.
often
If
do.
you don't know where to submit them, there will be a thread on the forums.
Yes, they will. If you're not already signed up to the VideoGamer.com forums, then do so and pop in, say hello, draw us a picture. Lol. Thank you very much for joining us on this podcast, and we will see you next time in Germany, home of the podcast.
Ja,
Deutsche auf Goods.
the Bratwurst, I see you there.
Yeah, Bratwurst, Mr. Bratwurst.
Yes.
Yeah,
Gonna eat so many
fantastic.
bratwurst.
I think we might have Brat eating sausages whilst recording the podcast next week.
Amazing.
That's just an idea. I had.
Yes.
That sounds messy.
Sounds awesome. Awesomely messy. Thank you very much for listening. My name's been Matt Lees. As ever, Chris's name has been,
Chris,
Steve's name has been,
Steve.
and
Yep.
David Scammell was played by
you weren't quick enough. You're going to have to just...
Ken Levine.
Ken Levine.
Nice, okay. Still works.
I don't know why I mentioned Ken Levine again.
Maybe he's born with it.
Maybe it's Ken Levine.
Yes!